if you're a leader, you can get things done one of two ways. Through position power. Hey, I'm the boss. You work for me. You do what I say. And you will get people doing things. They may drag their heels. They may resent having to do it. But if they want to stay employed, they're going to do it. Or you can use personal power. So we have position power. I'm the boss. You're my employee. Or personal power. And that is, and I'm not saying that you don't use position power, but you have to use personal power, which is the way I communicate with you, the way I connect with you, the way I motivate you, the way I can build trust with you. Because then when I ask you to do something, you will do it more willingly.
Welcome to Think Deeply, Speak Simply, the podcast that explores the art and science of business communication. Sponsored by Prezent, the AI-powered platform transforming the way professionals share ideas and tell their stories. And now, here's your host, Rajat Mishra, CEO of Prezent and passionate advocate for clear and impactful communications.
We have all heard the golden rule: treat others how we want to be treated. But what is the platinum rule? A rule that takes the golden rule one step further. Treat people as they want to be treated. That's the platinum rule. A principle that transforms the way we communicate, we collaborate, and we lead. The platinum rule emphasizes empathy, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. As Tony Alessandra says, the platinum rule accommodates the feelings of others. It's about valuing diversity and building bridges through understanding. Today, we'll explore how this rule is more than just a philosophy. It's a leadership. It is a leadership strategy that enhances communication, fosters trust, and drives success in the complex workspace. Joining us today is the mind behind the platinum rule himself, Dr. Tony Alessandra. Tony is a renowned author, speaker, and expert in communication, management, and relationship building. Together, we'll discuss how adapting to the needs of others and their communication styles can make you a more effective and respected leader. Whether you're managing a team, leading an organization, or simply looking to improve your relationships, this episode will provide you with actionable insights and practical tips to elevate your leadership through personalized communication. Tony, welcome to Think Deeply, Speak Simply. It's an honor to have you here today.
Well, listen, Rajat, it's my honor to be on your program, so thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Tony, you've had such an inspiring journey, and your work has helped so many leaders around the world enhance their communication. Why don't we start with a little bit about your journey and what brought you to this point?
Sure. So I went through school, got my bachelor's, master's, and PhD all in business administration with a focus on marketing and the social sciences. Psychology was sort of my minor. So I worked my way through college. I went to the University of Notre Dame, as you could probably see from that sign over there, and worked my way through college selling cookware, pots and pans, door to door during the summers between my freshman and sophomore year, sophomore and junior and senior year. Paid for all my tuition, room and board, et cetera. So I realized I did have a natural talent for selling. When I went through my PhD, I took a teaching position here at the University of San Diego, which I live in San Diego. That was in 1976. Prior to that, I actually had taught. I taught all the way through my PhD program. They gave me an actual teaching position, teaching professional salesmanship. So I came out to California, and here's where I'm sure the beginnings of this happened before, but when I moved to California, see, I'm a New Yorker. I grew up in New York City and New Jersey, and even though I've been in California since 1976, I am still a New Yorker and a Jersey boy. So when I came out here, I treated people the way I wanted to be treated, all right, in California. So I treated the people as if they were New Yorkers. Do you see a problem here? I came on too strong, too fast, too aggressive, too in your face. And even when I asked people to do things that under any other circumstance they would have willingly done, they dug in their heels, decided not to do it. And it wasn't because of what I was asking them to do. It was simply because of how. And I realized then that I had to start changing my approach. What worked in New York and New Jersey did not work in Southern California. And we can take this even further, but that was the dawning of, hey, I was practicing the golden rule. Maybe we need to twist it. Now, why did I call it the platinum rule? Only because platinum at the time was selling for more than the gold. And I figured, let's make it the platinum. But the platinum rule is do unto others as they would have you do unto them. In other words, treat people the way they want and need to be treated. And in a world, in a world of increasing diversity, the platinum rule is absolutely crucial. So that's sort of how it came about, and it really was accepted quite readily. In all the places that I would speak and write. So
that's awesome. That's a great story. Jersey rules may or may not apply in San Diego, right? So thank you for sharing that. So maybe in your own words, Tony, you can share, how does the platinum rule apply in the workspace? So a lot of people listening are business professionals. So how does that apply in the workspace, and how could it help leaders and professionals in the workspace?
Okay. Well, again, this concept is about connecting with people, right? About the way you communicate and interact with people. So obviously, yes, it works in the workplace. It works for leaders. It works for co-workers, but it goes even beyond that. It goes into your social relationships, your marital relationship, your communication with your children. It's pretty broad. So if I know what the styles, and we'll get into styles and what the platinum rule is about, but if I know the style of somebody, if I know they're faster paced or slower paced, I can either speed up or slow down. If I know that they like to get right down to business, when I'm with them, I get right to the point. If I know they like to socialize a little or joke around a little before getting down to business, I can do that. See, if I know a person's, we call it behavioral style. Some people call it personality style, but we call it behavioral style. I know that by simply making two decisions about people, I can then adjust my communication to connect better with them and faster with them and deeper with them. So, as a leader, how do you get things done? You get things done through your direct reports. You get things done through your colleagues, your peers who are at the same level, but you don't have any kind of position power over them. You have to persuade them to work with you or do things or follow your ideas. So it's important that we connect with people at their level so that they're more willing to work with us and work for us.
Yeah. No, well said, Tony. And I can think of many instances from my own experience in the workspace. We have to kind of get things done through others and influence them. Many times when we don't have direct authority. So let's get into it, right? So you said there are two main dimensions by which you can segment teams. So tell us a little bit more about it. What are the four types, and how do you get to it?
All right. So there are four types, and let me use the classic DISC, D-I-S-C terminology. The dominance is the D, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness. Now, all of us typically, I say all of us, the vast majority of us have a dominant pattern. My dominant pattern is a D, dominance, but we are a combination of all four, D-I-S-C, but in varying degrees. And we have a natural style. So my natural style is D, and we have an adapted style. And an adapted style is how I might change depending on the situation or the person I'm dealing with. That's called adaptability. We'll get to that in a second. But let's look at, how do I identify what somebody's style is? There's a variety of ways, but let me give you two big ones. One is to allow the other person to do more of the talking and make two decisions about their behavior, how they're coming across to you. Decision number one, are they communicating in a faster or slower pace? And number two, are they more task-oriented or relationship-oriented? So there's two either-or decisions. If I'm dealing with a person who's fast-paced and task-oriented, all right, fast, task, I'm dealing with a D style, the dominant style. If I'm dealing with somebody who's fast-paced but relationship-oriented, I'm dealing with the I style, the more interactive, socializer type. When I'm dealing with somebody who's slower-paced but relationship-oriented, slow and relationship, I'm dealing with the S style, the steady, the more relater, kumbaya type person, great team player. And again, if I'm working with somebody who is slower paced but more task oriented, it's the conscientious style, the C style, who is more of a thinker, analytical. I want proof, document it. First, second, third, fourth. They follow that pattern. So there are four basic patterns, D, I, S, C, and they behave very differently, and they have different needs. So, for instance, the D style, the dominant style, their key desire is results, bottom line. Their motto, I want it done right, I want it done now. Better yet, I want it done yesterday. They're in a hurry for everything. They want you to get to the point. They don't like you when you come into them. Let's say that you're a direct report going into your manager. They don't like you to build up to why you're there. They want you to tell why you're there. And then if they have questions, they'll drill down for more facts, but they want you to get right to the point, get out. So those are the D's. The D's, we can talk about some of their problems, but a big problem is their listening ability. They think they hear something, right away. They don't have to hear the rest. I'm a D style. Let me tell you one of my big issues. When I get an email, and I know this is a problem, and I work on it. But when I get an email, and if it's relatively long, I only read part of it, and I think I know what it all says, and then I answer it, and then somebody gets back to me and says, "Hey, wait, did you read the last thing I was asking?" No, I didn't. So that's an issue that we have to deal with as a D. The I's, again, fast-paced, relationship-oriented. Their key desire is fun, excitement, interaction. What's the word? Their thoughts sometimes fall to their tongue and roll out. They sometimes talk before thinking things through. Fun to be with. Tend to exaggerate at times. I've done it a million times. But great idea people. Great brainstormers. Hey, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this. Sometimes there's too many things. All right, they get sidetracked. The S, the steady style, their key desire is good one-on-one communication. They are the great listeners. They're the peacemakers. If people are having problems, they want to resolve the problems between two people, conflict resolvers, and great team players. Great to have on your team. They're the glue. In my opinion, the glue that holds a team or a relationship together. And then the last style is the C style. And, I'm giving you a real quick overview here. I don't want to get into this whole description, but the C style, the more conscientious, thinker, analytical, their motto, everything in its place, and a place for everything. Great planners, problem solvers, organizers, but sometimes they get bogged down into the nitty-gritty details. And you can see how a C style communicating with a D style can have problems. They're both task-oriented, but the C style wants to talk about everything about an issue, and the D style, hey, I don't want to hear all this. Just tell me what the problem is, and then we'll talk about it. Whereas the S style and the I style, they're both relationship-oriented, all right? So they connect on that level. But the the I style likes to do a whole bunch of talking and very little listening, whereas the S style wants to do the listening and not a whole bunch of talking. And you would think that would be great, but they have a problem with pace. The I style goes too fast for the S style. Now let's talk about the diagonals. When I say diagonals, I'm talking about the D's and the S's, because they are exact opposites. All right. So you need to understand that I really have to change. I really have to adapt if I'm a D talking to an S, or if I'm an I talking to a C. All right. Because the I is, hey, we could do this, 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 this. Oh, I've had this problem a dozen times. The C doesn't want to hear that. The C wants very specific. Tell me exactly what the situation is. Start from the beginning. Give it to me in sequential order, and then we'll talk about it. And of course, the I doesn't have the time or the patience for that. So 4 styles, D, I, S, C. And I said we can determine one versus the other by those 2 decisions. Am I dealing with somebody who tends to be faster paced or slower paced? And I'm dealing with somebody who wants me to get to the point, or somebody who can allow me to, get off the subject and, as we say in the New York, New Jersey area, schmooze a little.
That's a cool story about the wife, Tony, because, I think I'm a pretty funny person, right? And pretty laid back, but I'm sure if someone asks my wife, that she's going to have a way different response to that. So Tony, I love the DISC and the 2 dimensions, slow and fast, and relationship oriented versus more task oriented. So it'd be great. You've done so many of these and talked to so many leaders. Could you share an example in the business setting where you ran the assessment and some of these conflicts and issues came to life, so that just the listeners can understand it in 3 dimensions?
Yes, I mean, when somebody goes through this, and I really think that a lot of your listeners have gone through some sort of behavioral model, a 4-style model, whether it's colors or animals or birds or whatever. They've gone through something like this. And, a lot of people look at it and say, this is great, it describes me, they put the report away, and that's that. You have to really dig in and use this with other people. So if you're a leader, you can get things done one of 2 ways. Through position power. Hey, I'm the boss, you work for me, you do what I say. And you will get people doing things. They may drag their heels, they may resent having to do it, but if they want to stay employed, they're going to do it. Or you can use personal power. So we have position power, I'm the boss, you're my employee, or personal power. And that is, and I'm not saying that you don't use position power, but you have to use personal power, which is the way I communicate with you, the way I connect with you, the way I motivate you, the way I can build trust with you. Because then when I ask you to do something, you will do it more willingly. When I use position power, I'll get people to do things, but I have to be looking, over my shoulder at them. Are they doing it? Are they doing it right? Are they doing it on time? But when you use personal power and people buy in because of you and because of the relationship, even when you're not looking, they will do what you would like them to do, and maybe do it happy, give 110%. So, a key is understanding that if I can connect on their level, which means adaptability. Here we come to adaptability. Mm-hmm. If I can be adaptable, which means changing my approach depending on the situation or the person I'm dealing with, that's adaptability. Adaptability has 2 parts, in my opinion: the willingness and the ability. The willingness, am I willing to change? And the
ability.
Ability is do you have the skills to do it? So I believe that leaders, I mean, we have so many examples of leaders who have used this and got more out of their employees. put teams together that are more willing and able to get the job done rather than bicker and conflict because we have people who are at each other's throats. We have leaders that put teams together, by the way, that work on various projects. And what they might do is sit everybody down and say, okay, here's the team. We have 2 Ds, we have an I, we have 2 Cs, and we have 1 S. Let me tell you, excuse me, what you bring to the table, what the strengths will be, and so that you will be more able and willing to work as a smooth working team rather than at each other's throats. So, building teams is a great way to use this concept. Adaptability, here's an interesting side of adaptability. When I adapt, I'm doing something different than what might be my normal behavior. All right?
Yes.
Me, I'm fast paced, but if I'm with somebody who's slow paced, I slow down. That's not my normal behavior. And so what it is, adaptability is you being able and willing to take on some stress, personal stress, because I'm doing something a little different than I normally do, to decrease the interpersonal stress, the stress that might happen between us. So salespeople could adapt their selling style to fit the customer's buying style. Mm-hmm. Parents could adapt their parenting style to the child's style. Now, let me tell you something interesting. I have 4 kids. I have 1 D, 1 I, 1 S, 1 C. and so how does that happen? With parents, how does that happen that I have all these, so some could be, the age difference and who's the firstborn, who's the lastborn, et cetera. But having 4 kids with 4 distinct styles has been a great learning lab for me. How to parent them, how to motivate them, how to get them to do what I'd like them to do. For instance, a D child. Let me tell you something about a D child. And I'm telling this from experience. A D child, I could say to the D child, okay, we're going out to dinner tonight to ABC restaurant. The D child says, I don't want to go to the ABC restaurant. You learn that with the D style, you give them options. And by the way, I'm saying this from parent-child, but this could be for a leader and direct reports. So now I say to my D child, although my D child doesn't live here anymore, grown up, but I would say to the D child, we're going to go out to dinner tonight. We have 3 options. All 3 are options that I'm okay with. But at least giving the options, the D child says, let's go to so-and-so restaurant. Now they feel that they made the decision and they're more willing to do it happily and part of that group. We can use the same concepts as a leader. When I'm dealing with Ds, let's give them some options. When I'm dealing with Cs, let's give them some data. When I'm dealing with S's, let's tell them how whatever I'm asking them to do affects the team, affects their coworkers, affects the relationships. When I'm a leader dealing with an I direct report, how do I express things in ways that make it unique, different, exciting? So these are ways that I can change how I communicate with people to put the language in a way that connects with them, that's meaningful to them. Years ago, there was a best-selling book written, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Have you heard of that book?
Yes.
Multi-billion bestseller.
Yes.
Basically, the book was about the platinum rule. It was about adaptability. Hey, if you are a male communicating with a female, you need to learn Venetian if you want to communicate. And if you are a female dealing with a male, you have to learn Martian. You got to learn how to connect with the people on their level. This concept can go internationally. Imagine as let's say that I'm traveling the world and I'm negotiating with some customers, okay? And I have a new product I want to present to them. And day 1, I'm in Italy, and day 2, I'm in Germany. Do you think the exact same approach will work in both places.
Probably not. Yeah.
No, it wouldn't. It just wouldn't. So, you just have to, here's the key. Open your eyes and ears. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Pay attention to how they're communicating to you. Pay attention to their verbal, vocal, and visual communications so that you can make those two decisions. Am I dealing with somebody who is more likely fast-paced and slow-paced, or slow-paced and fast-paced? And I'm dealing with somebody who's more task-oriented or relationship-oriented.
So those are some awesome examples, Tony. Thank you for sharing. As a parent of two kids, I'm just thinking about my own kids. Probably they're in different quadrants. I just haven't thought about it deeply enough. Let me ask you a follow-up question, Tony. So many of us have been told, right, have empathy, step in other people's shoes. So at the surface, it feels like a thing, a must do that people should do, right? So why is it so difficult, like you said, to take on some of that personal stress so you can de-stress that interpersonal relationship? Why is it so hard to follow the platinum rule?
Well, a lot of people, their attitude may be, it's my way or the highway. This is who I am. Why would I communicate differently? Some people don't know what to do. I mean, we can talk about adaptability. We can talk about how important it is. And even some people may say, yes, I believe in adaptability, but how do I do it? So they need to have the specific how-tos. How do I adapt to a D, an I, an S, or a C? What are the specifics? And again, if anybody does a classic, our DISC reports are about 50% descriptive of the person and about 50% prescriptive, how to use it with other people. So when I talk about is the person more direct or faster, slower, task-oriented, relationship-oriented, the report exactly tells you the behaviors to look for and listen for. It tells you, okay, if you're dealing with a D in a sales situation, boom, here's what you do. If you're dealing with a D in a leadership situation, here's what you do. If you're dealing with, et cetera, each of the styles, it gives you the exact tools. So another thing why it's so difficult is we are creatures of habit. Mm-hmm. So if we've been doing something one way for so long, it's difficult to change that mindset, that behavior. How long does it take to create a new habit? How long does it take to break a habit and replace it with a new habit? Okay? So, hey, my way or the highway? No, I'm going to be adaptable to people. It takes a willingness, right? And an ability. I have to be willing to do the change, and I have to have the tools, the skills to actually implement it.
Well said, Tony. So, one question people might have is, am I being inauthentic, or am I not being my true self if I'm not operating from my true authentic self and almost being like a chameleon, right? Adapting to what other people want of me. So what do you say to those folks who feel they may be inauthentic adopting an approach like this?
Yeah, I first ask the people, are you married? Because that's the first thing. If you are in a marriage and you are not adaptable, you're going to not be in that marriage very long. You learn very quickly. We have a lot of clergy who put people through premarital counseling with this 4-style model, so that when they go into the marriage, they know each other's style, they know their strengths and struggles, they know that if somebody's doing something, it's their natural behavior and not something against the other person in that relationship, because sometimes we get upset, you're doing that, because you want to aggravate me. No, that's their natural style. If we know that, we become a little bit more empathic toward that person. And of course, in the counseling, the premarital counseling, they talk about, here are some of the things that you should the do's and don'ts of communication. That's actually one of the pages in our report, the do's and don'ts of how to communicate with each style. Because there are certain things that will irritate people if, one style, if you don't know what those things are. Here's another example. Let's say somebody, I'm going to use an example, a crazy example. Let's say somebody is a chain smoker, okay? And let's say they're a salesperson, and they're calling on a prospect. And in doing their research, they find out that this prospect is an avowed non-smoker, okay? Now, so we have a chain smoker going in with a non-smoker. First of all, would it be appropriate for that salesperson to ask, do you mind if I smoke? It wouldn't be. But let's say that we have a good salesperson. Let's say that we have an adaptable salesperson. And the salesperson says, you know what, I'm going in, I'm calling on this person who is a non-smoker. So I am going to change my behavior, my chain smoking behavior, just for that 30 to 60 or 90 minutes that I'm with this customer, so as to reduce the possible tension of me smoking or even asking. Now, some people would say, well, is that being manipulative or is that being considerate? Now, I say it's considerate. It's not manipulative. So the people who say, well, should I really change my behavior? Those are more of the my way or the highway people. This is the way I've always done it. Why do I have to change? Yeah. If you want to get something out of a relationship, if you want to be more persuasive, if you want to more quickly and deeply connect with other people, you're going to be adaptable. And to me, that is simply being considerate.
Love that answer. 100% right. We're being more considerate and empathetic, not being manipulative because we're really thinking of the other person, right? So Dr. Tony, for leaders, I love how prescriptive you mentioned kind of the assessment is, and we'll get to that in a second. But for leaders who want to try the platinum rule tomorrow, what is the first thing they should be doing?
Well, here's one thing they can do that doesn't involve dealing with me or anything, and that is if you have ChatGPT, just go on and ask, hey, I heard Tony Alessandra speak about the platinum rule. How do I implement that in my company with my employees? And you'll be surprised at what you might get. I haven't done this, so I'm just saying, but I've used. I have some congestion here. I'm sorry, but I've used Chat GPT or some AI platform, Claude, whatever, and have asked questions about the 4 styles. It is absolutely incredible how accurate those answers are, and I think part of it is all of my books and my articles, my speeches, they're out in the public domain. And I'm sure ChatGPT has picked up a bunch of that, not just from me, but for other people who do the same thing, who have written books on behavioral styles or given speeches on it or whatever. It's out there, and the answers that you get are really incredible. So it really is important to know what my style is and what the other person's style is. If let's just say, Rajat, let's say you're an I style and I'm a D style, and I know that. And let's say that we are going to work on a project together. I could go into ChatGPT and say, hey, listen, I'm dealing with somebody who is a high I style. I'm a high D style. Tell me the do's and don'ts of that relationship. It will tell you. I'm really shocked at how good it is. So that's one thing that people can do to learn about the platinum rule. You can even go in there and say, hey, I've read something about the platinum rule. What can you tell me about it? How can I use it internally? So that's one way they can do it. People can contact me. I'd be more than happy, maybe even through you, is to give you an article, or even an ebook, a PDF ebook, that if people, your listeners say, hey, I heard Tony Alessandra, can I get a copy of his book? If you have the PDF, you can give it to them, or they can contact me. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Later.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. And we can put a copy of the ebook in the show notes, Tony, so everyone has access to it. So, Tony, let's switch gears and let's move to my favorite section of the podcast, which is the quick fire. So I'm going to ask you 5 short questions. And the first thing that comes to your mind, just tell us what you think, just a few words or a phrase. All right, ready?
I hope so.
Okay. What's one word you would use to describe the art of communication?
Listening.
How is AI changing the way we communicate?
I think it's making us lazy. Seriously, lazy, because we will rely on what AI is telling us rather than trying to figure it out on our own. That's more than a word, I'm sorry.
Fair enough. No, great. What's a common communication myth you wish people would unlearn?
That it's better to speak than to listen. Seriously, and more people want to speak. Let's just stop there. That's a quick answer, but it is a real answer.
It's a great one. If you could give one piece of advice, Tony, to someone preparing for a big presentation, what would it be?
I would say do your homework. Find out who will be at the meeting. Is it one person or a group of people? If it's one person, let's see if we can find out their style. How do we find out their style? Can we call up somebody in the company and ask, hey, I'm having a meeting with Rajat. Can you tell me, does he tend to be faster or slower paced? Does he like to get right down to business, or build a relationship before? I can ask questions like that. Or I could even possibly go into LinkedIn or some online social platform and see how you communicate with people. How are your answers? If you go onto mine, well, actually, I also have somebody who posts some of my answers. But if you look at my emails, you'll see yes, no, maybe. Classic D. Classic, I would be a D. But
awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
So,
yeah, it's a great one. And what's something, Dr. Tony, you wish you knew about communication when you started your career?
Well, I wish I was taught in either grammar school or high school about communication styles. Mm-hmm. I didn't learn about this until I was in my doctoral program. So I wasn't taught this in grammar school, high school, college, MBA program, nothing. So I wish I had learned about the 4 styles. The other key thing that we're not taught, and you'll see that there's a theme here, is we're not taught listening skills. We're more likely to be taught speaking skills, in a speech course, but not listening skills, which to me is a more important skill. When I talk, I only know what I know. But when I listen, I not only know what I know, now I know what you know. So it really, it's a skill that I wish I would have learned when I was younger.
Awesome. That's a great point about listening, Tony. Tony, thank you so much for sharing your insights on the Platinum Rule and the importance of adapting our communication to meet others where they are. Today's conversation has highlighted how personal communication isn't just a nice to have, it's essential for leadership success, collaboration, and building relationships. So, Tony, before we wrap up, any last words to our listeners or any other piece of advice you would like to share, or maybe you can talk a little bit more about your books or where they can find you?
Yeah, well, where you can find me is if you can see my name there, and then there's the website, www.assessments24x7.com. If you just take out the www dot and just put Tony at, Tony at assessments24x7.com, that's my email address. That's how you can get in touch with me, ask me any questions you might have. If you are not going to wait for a copy of the PDF book, you can actually say, hey, could you send me a copy of the disc book? And it's the disc book about how to use disc in business relationships. Okay. As a leader, as a team builder, and as a salesperson or service person. So it goes into all the specifics. And again, for free. It's just, I love being on programs like this because I love talking about the Platinum Rule. And even if you don't go any further with this concept, at least take this to listen more than you talk. Try to find out where the person's coming from and try to meet them at least halfway, if not more. And I guarantee you, you will have much more success in your relationships with other people.
Words of wisdom. On that note, Tony, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Next week, we'll continue exploring the art of communication and leadership with another incredible guest. Until then, let's think deeply and speak simply. See you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Think Deeply, Speak Simply. This episode was brought to you by Prezent, your secret weapon for brilliant presentations. Visit Prezent.ai to transform how you communicate. Until next time, keep thinking deeply and speaking simply.